This edition of MacVoices could have been sponsored by you. MacVoices is always looking for sponsors who appreciate our high-signal, low-noise approach to tech topics with an Apple focus. Our sponsorship packages feature inclusion in all of the audio and video versions of MacVoices at all of their distribution points, a web presence, inclusion in the MacVoices Dispatch, our weekly newsletter, and more. Get the details by contacting me at chuck@macvoices.com or contact Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Hi, I'm Chuck Joyner. MacVoices is in San Francisco for the AltConference and WWDC. I'm here with Laura of Artsy to talk about what she does for Artsy, their app, and maybe a few other things. Laura, it's great to have you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So we had one of your colleagues on earlier from Artsy, and we talked in some general terms, and we did a bit more on some of the heavy programming stuff. What do you do for Artsy?
So I also work on the iOS app with Orta, but I've not been working on it for as long as he has. He was responsible for from the app from when it was first conceived of, and I've just been on the project for the last 6 months, so I have only seen its recent changes, not its whole evolution.
Now, I'm going to ask you, for the folks who might not have seen that interview, to explain what Artsy is and what kind of things the app does for you.
So the platform itself mainly is our website, and it's a listing service for galleries primarily, for them to upload artworks from their most recent shows, and also works in their backlog of inventory that might not be in a show right now, but they want to put online. And then there's also a lot of works that are not for sale, not from commercial galleries. Like, we partner with various museums, so it's another outlet for those not-for-profit institutions to gain exposure and just educate people more in general about art. And so the app is pretty much just a companion to the website, so it allows, on the website you can favorite artists and favorite artworks, and you can follow galleries whose programming you like, so you can do all those same things in the iPhone app. There's also featured content, like if we have a staff that picks out shows that we think are most interesting going on right now, so all of that stuff is like super easy to access, both on the homepage of the website and also on the homepage of the app. But there's some functionality that's more specific to the app that has more to do with the fact that it's a mobile device. So since I've started working on the app, we've started doing more work with art fairs, and there's a number of big art fairs that happen around the world every year, and we've added some mapping capabilities for the fairs so that we offer like a guide, your personalized guide for the fair based on the works that you've expressed interest in before, artists you've expressed interest in before, and then we have a map of the entire floor plan of the fair, which takes place usually in some kind of convention center or other large building. And right now it doesn't locate your point in relation to space, but it can show you, for an artist that you're interested in, all of the various points, all of the different booths that they have works in. And so we're hoping also to do at some point to make it possible to locate which booth you're inside of and show you specific information about the works that are geographically close to you on like a very granular level. So that's specifically what the app can do that wouldn't be possible on a website.
This strikes me as just a huge amount of data to maintain and deliver, and data that is constantly changing, especially if you're doing art shows and that kind of thing. That's very transient data. It's important while it's important, and then it's gone.
Right.
So how do you all manage that? And along with, and of course, you're not just managing text data. You've got to have images, and nice, high-quality images of the pieces for people to appreciate. How are you managing all this? So
we have separate panel for gallery partners to enter a lot of metadata about artworks that are being added to the collection. So a lot of the information being attributed to these artworks is done by the galleries themselves, and the images come from the galleries themselves, and most of them are taking high-res images for press purposes anyway, so they're already doing that work of getting good quality images.
Okay.
and then they pass them along to us. But sometimes, every gallery might have different image rights issues. In museums, there's lots of different situations that can come up about like if we should allow people to download this image, and all these specific rules that have to be to keep track of for every different artwork and for each possible image of that artwork. So it's kind of also, a lot of the work is done by our employees to categorize works according to our taxonomy, which we call the Art Genome Project. So this is how we quantify different qualities of an artwork, some of which are art historical terms or purely like formal descriptors of the works. So that labor is done by people on our staff, and they just kind of have to constantly keep adding new things to our database in a way that has like meaningful information about what's actually represented in the piece itself. So that's a lot of work on our end.
And I have to admit, I never thought about the rights issues of the images. I should have, because it's art, of course.
Right.
But that whole idea that not only do you have to manage the images, you have to manage all the rights issues. That's a huge amount of work.
Yeah, so for every image we display in the app, we have to check whether or not we allow you to share that to social media or different things like this, like how that works.
Tell me about the Art Genome Project. Is this something that you all have initiated, or is it a broader effort?
This is something we initiated, and it was kind of the seed that sparked the idea for the company as a whole. And it's been compared to the way Pandora tries to relate musicians and music songs to one another. So for us, it's using artwork instead of music, but it's similarly kind of difficult to quantify in a consistent way, just partly because so much of it is subjective, and even if it wasn't, still there's no like right or wrong answer about a lot of things. But the way that we do it is we have like genes that we apply to artworks, but they're not like binary tags. They're weighted from 0 to 100, and people, like, there are a lot of people at Artsy with art history degrees, and they make educated decisions about what tags or what categories they want to apply to works and with what strength. And so we weigh these different values against one another, and so for a given artwork we can find another artwork that's considered similar based on these values. And so it's partly discovery tool, like for educational purposes, just for someone to kind of explore who maybe doesn't know that much about like what they're looking for, but then also if someone does very much know what they're looking for, they can find other things that are in the same vein.
That's just the sheer scope of that. I mean, it's tough enough to develop the genome and figure out what categories or what characteristics perhaps you want to track, and then to start to apply it over a meaningful volume of art is, that's also a huge project. So you all are very ambitious.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. So how do you? I have to ask the obvious question: how do you make money at all of this to support everything that you're trying to do?
So we're a startup, and we've received venture capital in the past, but the way we're becoming more and more profitable is we've gained enough clout in the art world that galleries are now like lining up to sign up for the platform, and we now charge them subscriptions, where in the past it wasn't a subscription-based model. It was a cut of the commission for works that were sold through our platform, and now there's just been so much interest from galleries, and they all want to participate, and we've just been doing a ton of work that basically for free, like cataloging all these artworks and image hosting, stuff like that. So now we're able to charge them for that, and it's been going well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So one other thing we wanted to talk about, and I asked you if I could talk about this before, and you said yes. So, we're sitting in a room that is largely full of men. There's some women here, and it's an issue that is coming to the attention, I think, of the larger community. How do you feel about being a woman developer in this environment and just in general? And is it even fair for me to say you're a woman developer, or should I just look at you as a developer?
I think that's a good question. I don't know where I stand on that last one about whether it's best to make a point of talking about women developers, or if that in some way could be counterproductive by calling them out as like other,
right.
Like emphasizing that there's two distinct groups. I'm not sure. I mean, I think it's not entirely counterproductive, but it also, people can take sort of polarized stances or get very extreme or come off as extreme, which I think can widen the divide or make it reinforce the divide just by focusing so much on there being two groups.
Right.
But at the same time, I think I'm one of two female engineers at Artsy out of a team of like 15, and there I've never really thought about it, or I've never thought about it being like two groups of people, mm-hmm. one group of 2 people and one group of 13 people. But I'm very comfortable with all those people. I've never felt uncomfortable with anyone there. Here I feel more aware of being in the minority, maybe because it's a like more extreme ratio. I don't know. I definitely feel like very aware of it, or like even going to the various parties that companies are having in the evening, like it's not super fun for me to like be conscious of like standing out from other people in the room. That makes me kind of not want to go to those parties as much, which is not the fault of any individuals. I don't really know what to tell people to do about it.
Well, and fault is a dangerous word, because nobody here, I think, I mean, I know a number of the people in the room, and I don't think there's anyone here that would want you to feel intimidated.
Yeah, exactly. I think everyone...
But at the same time, I understand exactly what you're saying. And I may have just committed a faux pas. I don't know if the proper phrase would be woman developer, female developer.
I don't know.
I have no idea. These are questions. I know the AltConference has made a point of, trying to address some of these issues in a very positive, proactive way. We talked to Rob Elkin about that before. So it's just something that it strikes me, and I don't want to just tag you as, you're a female, so sit down and tell me how you feel about this. Mm-hmm. But it is something that I think we need to talk about.
Yeah, I think it's hard because for exactly what you're saying, it needs to be talked about, but no one knows how to do it in a way that like people are nervous about talking about it, because even if they have like all the right intentions, they're afraid that if they like talk about it in the wrong way, they're going to come off as patronizing or something. And that's
Amen.
like that is a legitimate concern, but I think like there's no like perfect way to talk about something that like is issue that's on people's minds. So I think it's probably better, rather than tiptoeing around it, for people to at least talk about it. And if they end up disagreeing, or someone, I don't know, there's many different opinions on like what's the best way to make things feel more inclusive, or have more women in tech, or have the women who are in tech feel more positive about their position there. I don't know. I think it's probably best not to just like avoid talking about it because someone might be offended, and better to like make it less of a faux pas to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Well, now I haven't been around you and your crew much, but the impression I get from them is that you are a member of the team. Mm-hmm. You're not a female member of the team, you're a member of the team, and that's it. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
In a perfect world, that's the way it would be all the time. I'm just hoping that you aren't hiding in your hotel room. I hope you're going out to the parties, and just being there, mm-hmm. Starts to improve the presence.
Yeah, totally.
And that's so important. And I know that may not be a comfortable situation, but it is an important thing to do.
Yeah, definitely. I think AltConf, I'm like really happy to see them being proactive about talking about these issues. And I went to the talk earlier today about how to like basically make the tech community better for women. And I showed up a little late and was kind of expecting it to be a crowd of women and like impassioned women who, I don't know, I just like kind of stereotype the people that like are my peers. Also, I was like, I don't feel angry and I was afraid I was going to walk into a room of women who had been wronged and felt angry, and it was the opposite in a lot of ways. It was still like 99% men, which I thought was problematic for the same reasons that it's 99% men at all of these tech events. But at the same time, I thought it was cool that there were like lots of men that were like, I want to learn how to make my workplace better for the women that I work with, or for the women that are applying for jobs at my company. That there was like that much. I mean, the auditorium was full. That there was just like a lot of people interested in talking about that or hearing about that from a woman, and I just thought that was really great. It's good to see.
And I think you've hit it right on the head so well that it can be almost a dangerous subject to talk about, because if I slip and say something inadvertently, I don't want to be branded in some fashion.
Yeah, exactly.
And that can happen, or you run into angry people on both sides, in both sexes, that can react the wrong way if you're not careful. And I'd like to say we all need to grow up, but there are always going to be people that can't or don't or won't, unfortunately. So where can people go to learn more about you and what you do for Artsy?
So I'm on Twitter and I'm on GitHub, and my handle for both of those is my name, Laura Brown, except the L is a 1 because my name is already reserved on pretty much every site on the internet. And Artsy can be found at artsy.net, and we're in the App Store for iPhone only right now. If you search Artsy, it's the first or second result, I think.
Great. Well, it's a pleasure to have you. Thanks so much for sharing your thoughts.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, we'll do it again soon, I hope.
Definitely.
Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner, and this is MacVoices at WWDC and the AltConference. We will be back with more soon. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, Google+, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date on all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at MacVoices.com/newsletter. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at BackbeatMedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at CashFly.com.